Over the past year, interest rates have been gradually increasing from their historically low levels. Depending on your financial goals, whether it be in the short term or the long term, it may be beneficial to consider keeping your money in a savings account. While it's generally known that savings accounts are not the most lucrative way to save money due to inflation often outpacing returns, they are considered to be a safe and pretty secure way to store your funds. In this video, I'm going to be discussing what high interest savings accounts are, how they work, and what you should be looking for when trying to find the best one for your needs. Regardless of if you're saving for a house deposit or you want to go on a holiday, or you're simply looking for a place to park your emergency fund, hopefully this video provides some insights into how to make the most out of your savings. So let's start with the fundamentals of a high interest savings account. These accounts work by allowing you to put money into them, and while you leave it there, you earn interest on that balance, usually paid out monthly or even on a quarterly basis, depending on who you go with. Now, there are lots of positives that come with having a high interest savings account, on top of the potential to have a higher return from your interest earnings. Typically, they provide you with a pretty convenient method to access your funds while still enabling you to save with minimal risk. However, there are a few cons as well that come with these types of accounts, depending on who and where you go. The three that I'm going to name drop here are pretty common across the board, and you have to always read the T's and C's to make sure that they're not going to affect you based on whatever your plan is going to be. They are, number one is fees. Potentially some of these accounts come with fees and hidden fees that are not easily disclosed, so make sure that you are aware of anything that comes in the form of a fee for having that account. Number two is withdrawal restrictions. You're being paid interest over a period of time. So you're giving them your money and saying, I'll lock it there for a period of time and I won't touch it. In return, give me some interest back on my money. If you touch it in a period that you've said you've locked it up, there may be, we'll call them disadvantages to doing that, such as you may lose the interest for that period if you were to touch that balance or withdraw from that balance in that period of time that you said you wouldn't. And finally, there are minimum deposit requirements, meaning you actually have a criteria or a quota to meet in order to get the high interest that has been promised to you as a return. So now we know what they are, let's shift the focus to finding the best one for your needs. Not all high interest savings accounts are created equally. So it's important to do your research and find the one that fits your needs as best as possible. To begin your search, it's a good idea to do the simplest thing possible. Google all of the financial institutes that you'd consider banking with and see what they offer through their specific web pages at this current point in time. I'll put this note in here and say that online banks alongside credit unions are definitely worth looking into for these types of accounts, because compared to traditional brick and mortar banks, they generally offer more competitive rates. Once you have a list of potential options, compare interest rates alongside things like the fees and the minimum quotas that you need to meet in order to determine which one is going to be the one to go with. Personally, my approach to finding the best high interest savings account that is going to work for me simply starts by using comparison websites and Googling these institutions. It's a pretty simple exercise to do and shouldn't take all that much time. I like to use a spreadsheet where I list all of the ones that I'm considering going with, and then I weigh up the pros and cons, because it's a very easy way to visualize which is the right one to go with. One thing to note as well, additional to interest rates and fees, is that these types of accounts potentially come with other added benefits. As one very simple example, some high interest savings accounts offer ATM reimbursement, meaning in Australia, ATMs, some of them charge a fee to withdraw cash from them. Some of these accounts, if you withdraw from that account directly, you will be reimbursed that fee, which is a pretty handy thing to know, especially if you're someone who uses cash a lot and uses ATMs a lot. I don't know why you would need to, but everyone's different and everyone has specific needs. If that meets your criteria, it might be beneficial. I do know someone who withdraws from an ATM quite frequently and gets charged like $3 for the transaction of simply pulling out money from their own bank account, and they do this a couple of times a week. It might be $10 a week or so, but over the course of a number of years, you're saving a couple $100 just because you've got the type of account that benefits you in that way. Talking more on the restriction side now, it's also very important to be aware of what they are, because it may impact your financial goals and what you want to do with your money. Like I said just a moment ago, some high interest savings accounts have a minimum deposit requirement, but that's not all. Some of them have maximum withdrawal limits, meaning you can only pull money out of them every so often or a certain number of times within, let's say, a month. And some of them as well will require a minimum balance, meaning you have to have a certain amount of money in them at any one time to reap the rewards of the interest rate on offer. I cannot stress it enough. If you are looking to open a high interest savings account, make sure you understand what restrictions and requirements are involved before doing it. It's just one thing that you really need to be on top of. And finally, for this little segment of today's video, I'm going to say it out loud because I am a responsible person. It is important to read the T's and C's. Make sure you understand what you're getting as part of this product. So then once you've found the perfect high interest savings account, it is now time to start making the most of it. So let's go through some tips and tricks to maximize how you can benefit from them. Think about what you're saving for, whether it's a deposit for a house, a trip somewhere, or simply somewhere to build an emergency fund. Work out how much you need to save each month. And if you're lazy and someone who isn't going to keep up with it, set up automatic transfers to directly deposit money into that account on a routine basis over the course of months and years. Automating your savings is a great way to stay on track, and it ensures that you will keep to the goals that you set, as long as income is still coming in. You can do this via two methods. You can set it up through your online banking, which will allow you to automatically transfer from one account to another at the same point every single month, week, year, whatever you set it at, as well as you can also go to your employer and ask them to pay a portion of your wage into that account directly. Another way to maximize your savings with high interest savings accounts is to take advantage of promotions and offers offered through banks. Banks often have these incentives on offer to new customers, which draws them in so that you do your business with them. One very simple example is that a bank may offer a cash bonus if you open an account with them and hold a minimum balance for a certain period of time. Just keep in mind throughout this process that life circumstances and goals can change, so it's important to understand and revisit what you're planning or what you're saving for to make sure that you stay on track to something that aligns with your goals, but also can keep your mental health in the right space, because finances can often be complex and a little bit overwhelming. So making sure that you revisit how you're tracking against these goals over a period of time, because high interest savings accounts are usually intended to be there for a long period of time. That's how you earn the compounding effect of interest. It's a really important thing to understand as well as you go through this process. You might not be thinking about it when you open the account, but it's something you should come back regularly and go, am I aligning with my goals? Am I still in this headspace of I need to do this to get to the goal that I set originally? One other really important thing to understand is before finalizing any deal and opening any specific account, call competitors and ask them to come to the table. Negotiating is what banks do, and they're very good at enticing people in to use their products. Ask them for a better deal. Ask the bank that you're planning to go with for a better deal. You have no idea how easily a 15-minute phone call could make you a couple of hundred, if not thousand, extra dollars for simply talking to someone at the other end of a phone line. I guess the one-liner there is shop around and compare rates on offer from basically everyone you're considering going with. It's a no-brainer. Now, to wind up today's video, I want to mention this because it's something that I come across quite often. I'd want to say it plain Jane. You do not owe a bank anything. Loyalty does not pay in most instances. If you are with a bank because your parents set up that account for you when you were young and you're still sitting there going, this is who I bank with, it just makes sense, you need to get that thought process out of your heads. That meme, I can't remember what it's called, but it's banks hate this one simple trick. It's that they have found a way to convince a large populace of people that they have to bank with them because that's who they've always been with. Take your business to the place that will give you the best return. It's not that much work. Simply put, you should be prioritizing your financial needs and goals first. And if that means moving from one of these banks, so be it. By shopping around and by being proactive, you can make the most of a high interest savings account, and it's not that hard. It's a pretty straightforward process to set up. It's one of the easier things to do in the world of finance. So hopefully today I touched on some talking points that you either A, weren't aware of, or B, needed to hear or be reminded of if you were planning to go down this path. Hopefully it was somewhat insightful. If it was, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button down below. It really does help the channel grow, and I really do appreciate the support. So thank you for taking the time out of your day to do that, if you did that. And I will leave you there. Have a good day, have a good week. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.